Here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream from the Scale It Learning channel. And today we are doing a little live stream, part 2 of 4 leading up to this SAT on Saturday. Wasn't even planning to go now. I was going to do it late at night, but had an opening in the schedule, so we are going to do it now. Just making sure. Okay, the audio is working. We're good. So the unfortunate thing about kind of jumping on and doing it at just like now, right? Like as opposed to later and planning it out, is that obviously I was going to put it up and then more people would see it and more people could plan. I figured since I last minute had this opening, I will do it now because more people, at least in the U.S., can join, right? It's 5 o'clock in California, 8 o'clock on the East Coast, and then in between we got, Mountain Time and Central Time and all that stuff. So I figured, why not? Let's just go for it. Now, again, with what's up, Chillax? What's up, Rohan? So with this live stream, we are doing March 2022 calculator section. Just for those of you who are new to the channel, I have done this already on my channel, but it's a recent test, and my plan was for the next 4 days to do a recent test, like something from 2022, so March, and then maybe the next one I'll do May or May International, one of the two. By the way, people have asked me about doing August, but August is not a release test, so I cannot do it. We can't see it. They don't release that one, so it is what it is, but we're going to be doing this one and then another one. And then I got a big algebra video, an algebra overview coming out next by Friday at the latest. I also just released a geometry video. It's the second most recent video that's come out, third most if you include this one. And it is all the geometry concepts, super, super important to watch that if you haven't done that yet and you're prepping for this weekend. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so can we slay that October test? Yeah, and get that high score. That's what I'm talking about. That's what this is all about. So anyways, for the calculator section, we got 55 minutes on the clock. If you're new to the streams, I'm going to take this in real time, usually for the first time, but here I've taken it before, as I mentioned. Actually, I took this one for real, by the way, and I did a score reveal, got an 800 on the math, that whole thing. So I'm taking the October test this Saturday, which is going to be super fun. So we'll make a little blog type of thing for that and release that with the score reveal when it's all good to go. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I will burn through this test. We'll check it. I'll try and answer questions, and then I got to jump off exactly at 6 or earlier because I got a session. 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, it is estimated that humans begin REM sleep 90 minutes after falling asleep. It's an estimate how many seconds do humans... Okay, so we're converting 90 minutes to seconds. So we'll do dimensional analysis, and I say 1 minute is equivalent to 60 seconds. We do it opposite like that, so then the minutes cancel out, and we just multiply across, and we're in seconds. 9 times 6 is 54. Add the 2, 0. B is the winner. Done. Use a calculator if you like. It is calculator section. G of -3 function notation, straight up plug and chug. So we replace that x with -3 minus 2. That's -12 minus 2, which is -14 for the win. Let me just double check. -3, -12. So yep. You see how I'm double checking everything? Even if I'm like, I got this, I know this. That's how we get our scores up. That's how you really perfect this entire process. X and 20. AC is shown. Like BC is 2 times the length of AB, which means if that's x, that's 2x. Which equation represents this situation? So 20 equals 2x? Yeah, this one, D. Because, look, 20 equals 2x. I think that's all we need, right? Let me just make sure. What? X plus 2 equals 20? No. Obviously, x is 10. It's a weird question. This is an expression. That's not even an equation, so that's strange. For 2 people sweep the floor, blah, blah. We got rates. This is yards squared per minute. Each person sweeps the floor for 5 minutes. So this one does 60, right? 5 times 12 is 6. Rate times time equals distance. This is 5 minutes, and this is 80. How much greater of an area did Eric sweep? So 80 versus 60, that's 20. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's right. Okay, number 5. Which expression is equivalent to this? So I'm going to distribute. Don't forget, the exponents add. So the coefficients multiply 3 times an invisible 1. X to the 4th times x squared is x to the 6th. So 3x to the 6th, we already know it's b, but just for fun, 9x to the 5th. Don't forget there's an invisible 1 that's there. And then x to the 4th times -8 is -8x to the 4th. Boom, done. Number 6. The function defined is blah, blah, blah. What is the y-intercept of the graph of this in the xy plane? Y-intercept, -4, boom, done. Right? Because this is in slope-intercept form, which means the f of x versus y, right, doesn't matter. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, which is 2. and the y-intercept is out here, and it includes that negative, right? That minus sign sticks to the number and makes it negative. 7, table summarizes the number of public schools in 2 California counties in 2017. A public middle school will be selected at random from the 2 counties. What's the probability to the nearest 100th selecting a school? What's the probability of selecting a school in San Diego County? Wait, hold on. A public middle school. Goodbye high school in total and elementary. A public middle school will be selected at random. What is the probability of selecting a school in San Diego County? So it's 165 out of 587. Because they're already saying, like, we don't care about the other two, right? So let's calculate that. 165 out of 587. 0.281, 0.28 rounded. Boom, done. Number 8. Let's go back to the timer. We've got a museum-built scale model solar system where 1 mile in the model represents an actual distance of 400 million miles. Wait. Hold on. 1 mile represents 400 million. Model real. The model of the sun is X miles away from the model of Earth. Oh, and then it's just whatever you have in the model times 400 million. So, A. Number 9, the list shown gives the heights in inches for 6 10-year-old children. Boom. And it's in order. That's cool. A 7th child with a height of 60 will be added to the group. Okay, so we're talking about mean and median. How did they change? The mean is going to increase. The reason why is because right now, I don't even have to calculate it, but I think the mean is 54, and the median is 54 as well. But the reason why I know the mean will increase, because if you add another value that's bigger than the existing mean, which has to be because of the biggest value, the mean's going to go up. So that's out. That's out. So the question is about the median. So in the original one, the median is the center two values because it's even. You take the average of those two. Average of 54 is 54. In the new one, now we got 60. So now the 4th value out of 7 is the middle term. But they were both 54. So that means the mean will increase. The median stays the same. That's it. Number 10. In a certain school district, 36 high school students were selected at random for study on use of internet and reading. I think I remember this question. Yeah, I remember this question. This is the one question I actually almost got wrong when I took it. So you'll see why. In a certain school district, 36 high school students were selected at random. During October, each student reported the average amount of time to the nearest half hour spent reading. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So this is how much time they spent reading. This is how much time they spent on the internet. Okay. So the line of best fit underestimates one student's reported average spent using internet by more than 2 hours. And then we want to know what is the time reading. So internet by more than 2 hours. So here's my line of best fit. The internet is horizontal. This is the one that's really far away. And look, it's more than 2 hours away. So we're talking about this student. And they said, how much time did this student spend reading? Now, it's 1.5, right? That's where it's lined up. When I first read it, I actually answered 5 because I said, hey, how much is it? What is this student? And they spent 5 hours using the internet, but that's not what it asked. It said, how much time did they report reading offline? And it's 1.5. You notice that they have 5 here, so that's a tricky one. If you go too quickly. According to the line of best fit, a student spends on average 1.25 hours reading offline, trying his best to estimate the time student we expect to spend using internet. Okay. So we've got 1.25 is in here, and we want to know the internet estimate, which would be between 2.5 and 3. C is the winner, done. Okay, now we go to 12. Line K is defined by that. Line J is parallel. What is the slope? Well, guess what? Parallel lines have the same slope, okay? Same rise over run. This is a slope of -1, so this would be -1. Boom, done. Wait, do I? Let's do, I'm just being picky with how, I just want to be consistent. I'm always circling the letter, not the whole answer. Okay, 13. For survey, students were assigned to either group R or V. Combined, the students of both groups answered a total of 17 questions, right? That's in this equation. Of these, a total of 9 questions were answered by the group in V. So V answered 9. Obviously, R answered 8, because that's how we get that, right? 8 plus 9, that's how we get 17, I mean. And then where R represents the number of questions, answered by each student. R is obviously 2 because 2 times 4 is 8. R represents the number of questions answered by. So each student answered 2 questions. 4 students, obviously, which is finding its best interpretation of 4R. Well, 4R, the entire expression, 4 times R, that's the number of questions they answered, right? Because 4 times R in this case is 8. And we already said if V answered 9, R answered 8. So it's the number of questions answered by students in group R. How many solutions does the equation have? All right, distribute. 5x plus 5 equals 5x plus 5. Guess what? Both sides are the same, but we can, subtract if we want. And when you get an answer like this, 5 equals 5, that means there's infinitely many solutions. If you're not sure, you literally plug in anything and it will work, right? We have, 1 will work because 5 plus 5 is 10, 5 plus 5 is 10. 2 will work, 15 equals 15. 3, 20, 20, right? So, boom. 15, table shows the results of a survey on average amount of money, D, in dollars consumer will be willing to spend. Okay, that's it. Linear relationship. What is the equation? Average amount of money is D. That's like my Y. You see that? And then here's my X, which is A. Let's calculate the slope. So let's subtract down. 42 minus 36 is 6. 25 minus 28 is -3. So the slope is -2. So you're out, and you're out. So it's got to be A. But we're not just going to move on so quickly. We're going to double check, right? Plug in 50. Plug in 25. Negative 2 times 25 is negative 50 plus 92 is 42, but that's only 1 point. Plug in a second. 28 times -2 is negative 56 plus 92. I could do this mentally, but just in case. 12 minus 6 is 6. 8 minus 5 is 3. That's 36. So we have double confirmation that A is correct, and we move on. If X is the solution given equation, what's the value of X plus 1? All right, look. I can solve for X and then go back to X plus 1, which I'm going to underline to make sure I don't forget that. But I see X plus 1 like that in both equations. So I can just replace it with Y, right? And just solve literally for Y. And that is X plus 1. Subtract 2Y from both sides, and I get 2Y equals 6. Divide by 2, Y equals 3. And X plus 1 is 3. Plug it back in for these two expressions. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 6 plus 2 times 3. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 equals 12. Boom, done. 17. The initial number of bacteria in a population is 10,000. The bacterial population are observed to double every 12 hours, which graph represents the number of bacteria in thousands, X hours. So here we have 10. It's in thousands, right? So our initial value, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, so initial value should be 10. And then at 12, it should be 12. This actually looks right. Look, 10. At 12 hours, it's 20. At 24 hours, it's 40. It's got to be A because this is in thousands. Let's just double check. Here it's 10. At 12, it didn't exactly double. At 24, we already know it should be 80, and that looks like 60. Here it's starting at 10. At 12, it's definitely not doubled. 24, it's doubled, so that's wrong because then it's at 12 hours, right? Yeah. This one's totally off. 18. Data. So you see how I use numbers? Like I know if it's doubling every 12 hours, I know that 12, 20 is a value. I know that 24, 40. Let me just make sure, right? 24, 40. You see, so like those are so helpful to use those. All right. The box also summarizes which of the 4 data sets has a range of 6. Range is from here to here. And literally, actually, that's the one. Look, 3 to 9, that's 6. This has a range of 1 to 14, which is 13. This has a range of 3 to 13, which is 10. This has a range of 2 to 6, which is 4. So D is the winner. Done. 19. A forest contains different species of trees. Let T represent the total number of trees in the forest. Let H represent the total number of hickory trees. So T is total. H is hickory. K is oak. If a tree is selected at random from the forest, which expression represents the probability of selecting a tree that is neither hickory nor oak? So we're dividing by the total. So neither hickory. So we're removing hickory and we're removing oak. tree selected random for the worst probability selecting a tree that is neither hickory nor oak. So it's this. It's B, right? So the probability of everything else, meaning, okay, let me just make sure I read this right. T represents H over number of hickory trees, K represents number of oak. Yeah, that's right. Okay. 20 is this one. XY plane. Quadrants are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We got a quadratic where H and K are positive. That means if H is positive, that means we have a negative for the X value of the vertex, a positive for the Y value of the vertex. Negative, positive. That means the vertex is in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2, that's what it's asking. And that's it. There's a negative in there, meaning it goes down. You see in the front, but they're not asking about that. Boom, 21. At the beginning of the day, there were 500 items in a store, number of items for sale. There were 500 items in the store. The number of items for sale at the end of the day was R% less. So that would be like, and they've got it written as expression. So you would say R% less. So if it's like 10% less, that means 90% remains. So it'd be like 100 minus 10, which is 90. But then turn it back into its decimal equivalent. So you divide again by 100. And I believe it's A. What's the difference between A and B? Oh, I think this is a mistake. Because they're both literally identical. So it's one of these two. I'll just randomly circle A. Even if it's B, obviously, we're not marking that wrong because this is a misprint. But that's it. And you can test it. You can think about it. Like the number of items is like, let's imagine it's 10% less. 10% of 500 is 50, so you should have 450. Plug in 10. 100 minus 10 is 90. Divided by 100 is 0.9. 0.9 times 500, 450. You check one other value if you're not sure, but that's it. Plug and chug. 22, the area in square inches of a certain right triangle is given by this equation, where it's 1/2 base, and then I guess this is our height, which would be 2b, I suppose, where b is the length in inches of one of the legs of the triangle. Obviously, it's not drawn to scale. Which expression represents the length in inches of the shortest leg of the triangle? Well, it's b. That's it. Because b is shorter than 2b, right? So it's 1/2 base times height. And even though I drew it like not to scale, but you can see this obviously is double that. So shortest leg is B. Weird question. 23. A scientist took 94 ice core sections. Each section was in the shape of a right circular cylinder. Boom, 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 boom. Which had a length of 1 meter, diameter of 0.1, which means a radius of 0.05. And a length, they mean height, I suppose, of 1. Which volume is closer to the total volume of the 94 sections. Okay, so the volume of one of these is pi r squared times height, or length in this case. So we need a calculator. And then there's 94 though, so times 94. It's 0.7. All right, nothing else is even close. Just make sure. Volume cubic meters, that's meter. Yeah, okay, good. 24. In the figure, okay, they keep doing questions like this. Geometry ones basically proves G, E, and A intersect at point F. By the way, I'm putting in the things that we know. Vertical angles are always congruent. Which following additional statements are sufficient to prove the triangle DEF is similar, proportionate to HGF. Boom. Okay. Well, let's see. So we already know that they have one angle congruent. If I can show that there's another angle congruent, I've got angle, side. I mean, angle, side. I've got angle, similarity. Okay. DE. Okay. So length of DE is 1/3 of HG. So if this is X, this is 3X. That's not enough, because this shows one pair of sides are proportionate, but I need more than that, and I need them to be around the congruent angle. So this is not good enough, but DE is parallel. That's good enough, and I'll show you why. If these two lines are parallel, this is a transversal, which means that these are alternate interior angles, and they're congruent. Same with these ones, but we only need two angles to show that triangles are similar. So 2 is the only one that is sufficient. 1 is not. Done. 25. Now we get into the toughest problems usually in this 25 to 30. Scatter plot shows a relationship between two variables, x and y. Line of best fit is shown. Which data point has an actual value, meaning the little dot thingies here, that is 2 more than the predicted value? So basically 2 above the line of best fit. That's right here, right? Line of best fit for 3 predicts 16, but instead it's 20. So yeah, so it's 3, it's this one, 3, 20. Oh yeah, so you see this one's weird, right? There is one that's 2 above also, 638, but they didn't have that, so. 26, okay, watch how I do this. A plant's height is 1.25 times its height from last week. What was the percentage increase in the plant's height from last week? Oh, I didn't even need an equation, but if it's 1.25 times, if you're not sure, you just be like, well, let's pretend last week was 100. This week would be 125. What's that percent increase? It is 25%. Okay, 27. In a forest, white pine trees between 15 and 45 grew to 36 to 48 inches. Okay, a 15-year-old white pine tree growing in the forest was 240 tall. Which of the following inequalities gives, or let me underline, boom, boom. Which of the following inequalities gives all possible values of the tree's height in inches after its 45th year? So it grows anywhere between 15 and 40, grows anywhere between 36 and 48. And we're talking about 15, 45, so that's 30 years. So on the low end, 30 times 36, 1,080, right? 1,080. What is the possible versus the tree's height? On the high end, it's 240 plus 48 times 30. Oops. 1,440. And then the lowest height is 1,320. The highest height is 1,680. So it's got to be D. Let me just make sure I didn't make a mistake. Inequality gives all possibilities of the tree's height. Because it didn't say the growth, it said the height, and that's the final height because you got to add the 240. And I mean, none of the answers even make any sense. So, perfect. 28. All right. P, watch how I break this down. P percent, because I could have just said P, but since it's a percent, to convert it to decimal equivalent, I have to divide by 100. P percent of X is 3. Look, got a beautiful equation. Now all I have to do is isolate. So I love starting with an equation. So first I'll multiply both sides by 100. And you notice in the answers, they didn't multiply it. They left it out there. So in Px equals 3 times 100. And then we divided by, which one represents X. We got to divide by P because we're isolating X. And it's 3 times 100 over P. Yeah, 2 left of these hard multiple choice. And we're on to the free response. Which of the following equivalent forms of the given function f displays the base coefficient of the y-coordinate of the y-intercept? Displays as the base or the coefficient of the y-intercept. Okay, so what is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept? Well, that's when x equals 0. So let's see, 3 to the negative 2 times 0 plus 1. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, and 3 to negative 2 is 1 over 3 squared, which is 1/9. So this one has, that's what's saying. It displays the y-coordinate of the y-intercept as the base or coefficient. Well, there it is as the coefficient. There's nowhere else, so it's got to be that. 30, 2 different store owners in a shopping center estimated the percentage. They each selected a random sample of the shopping center visitors and recorded whether. Okay. If the associated margin of error was calculated the same way for both, so that's 2, that's 3. All right. Usually for a smaller margin of error, it means your sample size is bigger. They occasionally ask questions like this. So I'm going to explain how you can deduce that if you don't know that. You don't have to necessarily memorize it. The way you can deduce it is, imagine if you took a sample of, let's say you're sampling people at a high school and there's 1,000 people at the school. Let's say you sample 100 of those people. And let's say you have a margin of error of 5%. That's because your sample is trying to be representative of those 1,000 people. But of course, there could be mistakes. You might interview too many freshmen, whatever it is, right? Well, let's say now you increase that sample size to 1,000, which is the full population of the school. Your margin of error is going to shrink to 0 because you've interviewed everybody. So just from that analogy, you can see that as the sample size increases, the margin of error should shrink. So that means that sample B sample B is larger than sample A. A included greater. Nope, this doesn't make sense. And yeah, A is not the bigger one, B is. All right, for your response, here we go. Limestone stalactite grew in length of 1/8 millimeter per year. How many years would it take for the stalactite to grow to 4? So it's what times 1/8 equals 4. To isolate, we multiply by the reciprocal of 1/8, which is 8 over 1, which is basically 8. 8 times 4, 32. Done. 32. The solution given us this equations is xy. What is the value of 2x? They want 2x. Now, you can solve for x and y individually, but if you notice a nice little shortcut here, just add straight down. X plus x is 2x. The y's cancel out, and you get 14. They're not asking for x. They're asking for 2x. 2x is 14. Done. See, if you put 7 on something like that, it's just such a bummer, right? So just want to make sure to read very carefully. All right, we're trying to find x minus 3. Again, we've got x minus 3. Again, I'm going to use my substitution trick so I don't forget, solve for x accidentally. Plus 10 equals 22, and then we're just going to isolate y, and y will be my answer. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides, and I get 12. Divide by 3, divide by 3. Square root of y equals 4, and then we're going to square both sides to get it out of that square root. And y equals 4 squared, which is 16 for the win. Now I'm going to double check. So x minus 3 is 16. That means x is 19. Of course, 16 is the answer. So we'll check it. 19 minus 3 is 16. Squared root of 16 is 4. Times 3 is 12. Plus 10 is 22. Boom, verified. 34. Table gives the average speed s in miles per hour of each lap around the track for one racing team. Got it. For how many laps was the average speed greater than or equal to 150? Greater than or, okay, so it's this portion because this is less than. So for how many laps? Okay, and then this is just straight up adding. So we got to be really careful because if you make a mistake here, you won't even know. There's no multiple choice. 57 plus 52 is 109 plus 35 is 441. Even if you're like, well, I'm going to use my calculator and be safe, you have to double check the numbers you're inputting because if you make a mistake, like I said, you won't know. I'm going to double check here. 109, 139, 144. Boom, done. Greater than or equal to 150. Yep. 35. Aditi and Bella. Aditi and Bella each attempt long jump 5 times. The mean distance of Bella was 0.3 greater than Aditi. Okay, so let's find the mean of Aditi. There's a little shortcut you can do here, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to confuse people. So I'm just going to do this because the standard calculation is totally fine. Whoops. Look, see how I have to be very careful I don't mess up on the number input. So we've got all of these. We added them up, and then we divide by 5, and we get 3.9 for the mean. That means the mean for Bella is 4.2. And so now we have to say, okay, well, all these added up divided by 5 equals 4.2. So let's do it. 4.4 plus 3.7 plus 3.8 plus 4.6. So for now, we have x plus that 16.5 divided by, again, there's 5 values. It's supposed to equal 4.2. Now I got an equation to solve. Multiply both sides by 5. Boom, boom, cancel. X plus 16.5 equals 20 plus 5 times 0.2, which is 1, so 21. Subtract 16.5 from both sides. Boom, boom. And we get x equals 4.5. I'm going to double check mentally now. And by the way, a little shortcut is if this is 0.3 greater, the total should be 0.3 times 5 greater, which is 1.5 greater. So watch this. So that's 8, 11.2, 15.2, 19.5. So that's what we got before. So that's right. And then this is, so it should be 1.5 greater. So it should add up to 21. So this is 8.1 plus 7, 8.4. So that's 16.5. So to get to 21 is 4.5. Boom, 36. What is the x-coordinate of the x-intercept? So if we want the x-intercept, that's when y equals 0. It's hitting the x-axis. So I just replace my y with 0, which kills that guy. And then it equals 1. And we isolate by multiplying by the reciprocal. Boom, boom, cancel. And 1 times 4/5 is 4/5, or 0.8, done. Okay, 2 questions left. What is the perimeter of an equilateral triangle that's all equal with a height of 5 rad 3? All right. Guess what? This is a special right triangle because when you drop a height or an altitude for an equilateral triangle where all these sides are equal, you create this thing. Remember, these degrees are all 60, and this is split exactly in half into 30. It's a 30, 60, 90. So 60, opposite 60 is 5 rad 3. That's the long leg, which means you divide by rad 3 to get the little leg, which makes it 5. Again, this is on the reference sheet at the front of the math section if you forget this, which means the hypotenuse is 10. So the side lengths of each of these sides are 10, and they want the perimeter, so it's 10 plus 10 plus 10, which is 30. Last but not least, 38. In the system of equations shown, A is a positive constant. For which value of A does the system have exactly one distinct real solution? So when we say the solution of the system, we need to set these equal to each other. So I'm going to substitute, because I can substitute for y, right? Negative 3 equals x squared plus 10x plus a. And then I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I get 0 equals x squared plus 10x plus a plus 3. So why did I do that? Because we have a quadratic, and we're trying to find exactly one distinct real solution. We have one distinct real solution of a quadratic, meaning to the second power, when the discriminant b squared minus 4ac equals 0, where this is a, this is b in front of the x, and this entire thing is c, the constant. So we have b squared, which is 100, minus 4, a is 1, so it doesn't matter. And then c is a plus 3, and this equals 0. So we'll distribute 100 minus 4a minus 12 equals 0. 100 minus 12 is 88, minus 4a equals 0. Add 4a to both sides. 88 equals 4a. Divide by 4, a equals 22. Now, we're going to plug that back in, and I'm going to prove it to you. So check this out. Now we can set these two equal to each other. Boom, negative 3. So I'm going to add negative 3. So, imagine here when it was a was 22. So when we add 3 to both sides, we get x squared plus 10x plus 22 plus 3, which is 25. When you factor this, you get x plus 5. Guess what? That's a solution of negative 5, negative 5. That's one solution. It's a double root. Boom, verified. And that's it. We got a ton of time to spare. Obviously, don't forget I've taken this test before, so to take it with a grain of salt, but it is what it is. I can do them pretty fast usually, and we're going to go over, make sure I didn't make any mistakes, and then we're going to talk about it. Here are the answers. And red pen of justice. Let's go now. So we got BDDA. We've got BDCA. We've got CBCA. We've got CDAB. 17 is ADBB. 21 is ABDB. 25 is DDC. 25 is D. I made a mistake. No. What data point has an actual Y value? Oh my God. I made a mistake. I wonder if anybody caught that. I said 2 more. It was obviously 4 more. Look. Sorry, guys. You see that? That was a really silly mistake. So 4. So which one's 2 more? It's this one. It's 530. Crazy. Happens to all of us sometimes. Try to make it never happen. So in the attempts that I've taken, the real ones, just FYI, I think like I've done 6 now, and 5 of them have been perfect. I did get a 791 time, so hey, does happen, I guess. But that's whoopsies. All right, 26 is D, 27 is D, 28 is C. But I did get it perfect on this when I took it for real. So I didn't make that mistake on the real thing. My bad, guys. Here we go. 29. And props to whoever caught that. I'm going to check in the chat. 29 is B. 30 is B. All right, let's go to the free response. Let's hopefully made no more mistakes. So we got 32, 14. Then we've got, let's zoom out a little bit. We've got 16, 144, 4.5, 4/5, 30, and yeah, 22 was the last one. 22 for the win. All right, let's see what we got in the chat. Okay. It's not a proper link. I don't know what people, hold on. What are people saying here? You got the August test, and I bought it. Okay, Prince, Malt. Okay. Quang, the answer for release. Okay. All right, let me just move past that stuff. I just got the results of my SAT. Got 950. So people always ask me this question: this is a good score, etc. Like, good score is relative. It's relative to your starting point. How much did you study? How much, you know what I mean? So where do you want to go to school? I can't necessarily answer that in a vacuum. You get what I'm saying? Loads of scores are good depending on your starting point and what your goals are. Just keep pricing on Khan Academy. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. I'm going to call it a day. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you like this video, click that like button. If you want to see more from the Scalar Learning channel, make sure to click subscribe. If you want to check out our video course, it's in the description link below. Okay, it's $15 a month. It's amazing. You can buy it and cancel it anytime you want, but it'll give you a bunch of great practice tests and video explanations for every question leading up to this SAT on Saturday. And join our Discord community if you haven't done so yet. That's in the link below as well. And if you're interested in tutoring, obviously hit us up below. We got the best tutors in the game. Sasha Salon, last thing, you're asking about trigonometry. Check out my geometry video. It's on my page. If you go to the video section, I just released it like a few days ago, so it's very new. It's got trig and geometry. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Take it easy.